Since early 2021, Greater Manchester Police have seen a rise in incidents and intelligence showing a rise in cuckooing cases in Salford. This short video has been created to raise awareness of what cuckooing is, what the potential signs or indicators are, and explain what you can do if you're worried that someone might be at risk or currently be a victim of cuckooing. Cuckooing can happen in different ways. The perpetrator may pretend to befriend the person and buy them gifts or things they need. The perpetrator will then ask the victim to do things in return for the gifts, such as letting them use the house or deliver drugs. In other cases, perpetrators may approach the vulnerable person, offering free drugs in return for using the home. Perpetrators may also give the victim a large package of drugs and tell them that they now owe them money, so they must sell the drugs to repay what is effectively owed. If the person refuses, this can lead to threats or actual violence. Victims are often left with little choice but to cooperate. Sexual assault or exploitation may also take place. Drug networks and gangs are likely to use multiple cuckooing addresses and rotate between them in an effort to keep ahead of the police and other partner agencies. In a number of cases, the perpetrators have typically been groups of young males, often connected to organised crime groups. It's quite possible that these males are being exploited or have been exploited at some point in the past. They are targeting people who live alone, often in ground floor flats, as these are easier to access and bypass main entrances. The people are often known to have addictions to drugs, and this means that they're reluctant to speak to the police, as their relationship with the police can be as an offender, and speaking to the police will likely result in removing access to drugs. In addition, they're terrified due to the notoriety of offenders or their connections. Victims know that the perpetrators have access to weapons such as machetes and firearms and will use them. As you can see on the screen, this is what we can see nationally. We know that anyone with vulnerabilities can be targeted. However, there are some things that can make people more vulnerable. In Salford, we're seeing particular issues in certain neighbourhoods. Adults with drug addictions are being targeted. Many of them are living in ground floor flats with concealed access to the premises. There may be a number of properties in close proximity all being targeted, and the offenders move between them to avoid detection. There have also been cases where older people have been targeted to facilitate storage of weapons, and people who have spare bedrooms can be used for cannabis cultivation. There are a number of reasons why victims of cuckooing are reluctant to speak out about what is happening to them and seek help from agencies. Many people are genuinely terrified of what may happen to them. Salford has a long history of organised crime groups, and offenders are often linked to these groups. Victims know that there is a real risk of them being harmed or even killed if they're seen to be talking to the police. They know that offenders have access to weapons and firearms, and they know that they'll use them. In addition to this, there's still very much a no-grass culture, and this is particularly evident in some neighbourhoods. Most of those affected have drug addictions, and their involvement with the police and other agencies has been in a negative context, so they may lack the confidence to speak to them. They're also losing the supply of drugs and getting into trouble themselves. They're worried about the risk of criminal proceedings being taken against themselves or fear of losing their home through eviction proceedings. Cuckooing can lead to a sense of fear in the wider community. Neighbours may notice an increase in antisocial behaviour or youths hanging around and may find this intimidating. They may notice or report lots of people coming and going from an address. There could be drug paraphernalia in hallways, damage to doors, properties, communal areas, or communal doors could be left open, which can make others in the block feel insecure and people feel scared. As I've already said, there are a number of things that can make people more vulnerable to cuckooing, such as having mental health problems or living with an addiction. There are also a number of potential indicators of cuckooing that we really want you to look out for. An increase in reports of young people hanging around a particular address could be just that, however it could also be indicative of something more. Other potential signs can include lots of people coming and going, especially during the hours of darkness, people being reluctant to engage with services, unusually high fob activity or repeated requests for replacement fobs. If as part of your role you enter into properties, please also look out for potential signs such as damage or things that may look odd or out of place. This could be new bikes, gloves, motorcycle helmets or takeaway wrappers, things that you might not expect the person you're visiting to have. Please consider the possibilities and make the connections. Be mindful of who is living at the property and what else is happening. It may be appropriate to talk to others in your organisation or partners to see if they have noticed anything or have any concerns. The term county lines was originally used to describe the movement of drugs from more urban areas to rural areas or seaside towns, but it now covers the movement of drugs more generally using a dedicated phone line. This can be from one part of Greater Manchester to another, or even just one part of Salford to another. There are concerns that some of the young males currently involved in the cuckooing of others may have been exploited themselves to become part of an organised crime network. If you are concerned that an adult or child is at immediate risk of harm, please contact the emergency services via 999. If you're worried that an adult is a victim of exploitation or cuckooing, you can refer them to adult social care using the online portal or by ringing 0161 206 0604. If you're worried that a child is a victim of exploitation, you can refer them to the bridge using the online referral form, or you can contact 0161 603 4500. If the information you have isn't enough to make a safeguarding referral, you can share that information or intelligence with Greater Manchester Police using the Partner Agency Intelligence Form. This can be completed and submitted to the Force Intelligence Bureau at the email address shown. The form can be obtained from the Salford Safeguarding Adult website. Salford Connect are a multi-agency team including social workers, ACT workers, police officers, specialist nurses and others. We actively investigate exploitation and work together to safeguard child and adult victims and prosecute offenders across Salford. If you need some advice, please contact the team on 0161 856 5186.